So keep in mind also that when you do change the pitch, now this is a key thing about it. If you notice, when I change the semitone, when I change the pitch, what it also does is it changes the tempo of what the sample is doing. So let's take a listen again. So I'm going to go back, I'm going to select all of them, and I'm going to go back to the original, and I'm going to select, just so you can hear what the original sounded like. What I'm doing is I'm basically making a count of what's inside of the sample. D, D, D. Ba, ba, ba. 1, 2, 3. So basically I'm counting how, I'm giving you an idea of how fast that is. Now in that first one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it and I'm actually going to change the pitch. I'm going to change the semitones back down. I'm going to bring it back down to 7. And I'm going to strike the same one. Get what I'm saying. Now you hear how the pitch, not only the pitch has changed, but the tempo of what that sample was doing has changed. Now, why does that matter? You can use this to your advantage. I use it all the time to my advantage when I'm making, you know, my beats. When I'm making Moody instrumental music, you know, I have my bounce, I have my style. I use this to my advantage all the time because number one, I'm flipping a sample. I'm not trying to match the tempo of the sample to my beat. I'm never trying to, and that's the thing about it. People ask me a lot, well, how do you make sure that your sample, how do you even match your sample or match your beats, you know, with your samples, and how do you match the tempo? I don't. And that's the thing about it. People think that I am, but they don't realize that what I'm actually doing is I'm just chopping. It's the way that I'm chopping, the way that I'm striking the key. About it, and this is a tip that I'll give you for free, you know, like everything else I give you. The idea is when you look at, it's the way that you strike or the way that you trigger those samples. And it doesn't, if you have a sample where it's only one piece of a note, notice that I have pretty much three different movements. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And then in the second sample, in the second slice, you have a 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. That's on purpose. And a lot of people, that's why I try to explain to folks that that's the reason why my flipping, it really doesn't depend on the tempo of my beat. My beat can be like 120 beats per minute, or it could be down to 80 beats per minute. I'll still flip that same sample with that same speed it is right now in that beat in both tempos. It's just the way that I choose to flip it. You know, it's the way that I choose to strike it while I'm in that tempo. So that's something that you have to think about, is not matching. You're not beat matching here, because we're not looping these samples. We're actually taking slices and we're manipulating the slices, and we're actually triggering the slices in a certain way. That's flipping. So when you're flipping the sample in a certain way, you're going to flip it differently at 100 beats per 100 beats per minute than you will at 80 beats per minute. You know, and based off of the speed of, you see how slow, D, 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 1, 2, 3. See how slow that is. So based off how slow that is or how fast it is, you can also use that to your advantage as far as how you. Because even with something like that right now, when you listen to that first one, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's expecting the 4, but I could play it 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. See, the manipulation of the sample and how you flip it, you can have in your mind, like right now, I got pretty much like a reggaeton beat in it. A boom, boom. Boom, 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 boom. You see what I'm saying? So it depends on what you want going to do. Flipping of the sample is really independent. So you got to keep that in mind when you're actually working with your samples and you have your different, when you do your different settings. So hopefully this gives you an idea of just the control, some of the control. I mean, I haven't even gotten into some of this other stuff in here, changing the actual frequencies. You can change, LFO. Man, you get into a whole lot of stuff. You can go tweak bananas up in here with this NNXT device. I just keep it simple as far as the samples. There are only a couple of things that I really like to change and like to work with, because most of the times I'm not a tweak head, and I'm not a tweaker. I'm not a person who goes in and tries to tweak every single knob, to get a different. That's not me. I'm actually sampling. I prefer to try to manipulate or rearrange the sample and to kind of try to figure out something new or come up with something, something so different where it's like, yo, I know what that is, but man, what is he doing with that? He's like, I hear what he's doing with that. Like, I want people to be like, I never would have thought about doing that. That's the coolest thing for me. When I listen to other producers and they sample, and I'm listening like, man, I never would have thought about doing that. That's what makes it good for me, because then it's pushing the idea of creating beyond just looping a sample in a song. So hopefully this helps somebody. I hope it does. And if it does, just go ahead and, press the like button if you liked it. If it helped you, leave me a message. Subscribe to the channel, especially because you can get a lot more information as far as how to use Reason. It doesn't matter which version you have, whether it's, back at 4 or up to 6.5 that I'm using. Pretty much the same thing with the NNXT. The NNXT device hasn't changed in any of those that I've seen. So hopefully this helps you out. Leave me a message. Go check out TaurusBeats.com and check out the music that I've made there if you haven't already. And like I said, just keep in touch. And hopefully, I can put something together for you to help you out in making your music better. So take care of yourself. Until next time, grace and peace. This is Taurus James, TaurusBeats.com. Y'all take care of yourselves.